You have only one question. Is it worth fighting for it?
A shadowy past resurfaces, shaking the foundations of Daniel LaRusso's legacy and pulling him back into the fight. In our take of Karate Kid Legends, ScreenRant has conjured up a story where Daniel LaRusso faces more personal challenges than ever before as ghosts of Mr. Miyagi's history return. The story begins with Daniel LaRusso living a relatively peaceful life. Following the dramatic events of Cobra Kai, he's focused on his family and the success of his dealership. The Miyagi-Do dojo remains a community cornerstone, with Samantha LaRusso and Miguel continuing to lead training sessions for local students. Johnny Lawrence, now a close ally, helps out with training occasionally but spends most of his time focused on his own growing family with Carmen. However, peace doesn't last long. One morning, Daniel receives a cryptic letter from Tokyo. It's from Kumiko, an old flame and ally warning him about a shadow from Mr. Miyagi's past. The letter reveals that a young martial artist, Jun Sakai, has been claiming to be Miyagi's illegitimate grandson. Jun is an exceptional fighter but has fallen into the hands of a dangerous underground fight promoter named Hiroto Takeda. Takeda's empire thrives on brutal no-holds-barred tournaments, and Jun is his rising star. Kumiko begs Daniel to intervene, fearing that Jun's talent is being twisted into something destructive. Reluctantly, Daniel decides to investigate. He and Johnny Lawrence travel to Japan. Despite their tumultuous friendship, Johnny's loyalty and knack for fighting prove indispensable. The reunion between Daniel and Kumiko is heartfelt but tinged with urgency. Kumiko explains that Takeda's influence reaches far beyond the tournaments. He is in control of a network of fighters, sponsors, and corrupt officials, making him nearly untouchable. Meanwhile, back in the US, Samantha LaRusso and Miguel deal with a mysterious break-in at the Miyagi-Do dojo. The intruders leave behind only one thing, a warning etched into the dojo wall. Legends fall. Hawk, Dimitri, and Tori join forces to investigate the break-in, uncovering strange connections to the same underground fighting circuit that Jun is part of. In Japan, Daniel and Johnny confront Takeda, a suave yet ruthless businessman who thrives on power and fear. He reveals that he's collected artifacts and stories from Miyagi's life, twisting them into his own narrative. To Jun, Takeda has spun a tale of abandonment, convincing him that Miyagi chose Daniel over his own flesh and blood. It becomes clear that Takeda is using this narrative to brainwash Jun into becoming an enforcer for his business. Jun's first real test is when Takeda informs him that Daniel has come to stake his claim on Miyagi's legacy. Jun, blinded by anger and Takeda's manipulation, confronts Daniel. Their first meeting is tense and bitter. Jun challenges Daniel to a fight, but Daniel refuses, recognizing the pain and confusion in the young fighter. Johnny, however, isn't as patient and steps in, leading to a heated sparring match. Though Johnny manages to hold his own, it's clear that Jun's skill surpasses anyone they've faced before. The dynamic between Daniel and Jun becomes increasingly complex. While Daniel attempts to appeal to Jun's sense of honor, Johnny sees a fighter who reminds him of his younger, angrier self. Kumiko warns Daniel that Takeda's influence won't be broken easily and Jun must choose to leave on his own, and until then, any interference could escalate the situation dangerously. The twist comes when Daniel discovers an old letter written by Mr. Miyagi himself, which has been gathering dust in his ancestral home. The letter reveals that Miyagi knew of Jun's existence but stayed away to protect him from a dangerous feud with the Takeda family. Takeda's father had a vendetta against Miyagi for defeating him in a high-stakes fight years ago, and the hatred has been passed down to Hiroto. This revelation changes everything. Daniel realizes that Jun isn't just a pawn, he's the center of a generations-old grudge. And the battle to save him is about more than just redemption. It's about breaking the cycle of vengeance that has haunted both their families. Meanwhile, back in the US, Samantha and Miguel uncover more about the Miyagi-Do break-in. Their investigation leads them to a hidden dojo in Los Angeles, where fighters train under Takeda's influence. They witness the harsh, unforgiving environment where strength and dominance are prized above all else. The realization that Takeda's network has already infiltrated the US dojo community spurs them into action. They recognize that their current resources won't be enough to challenge Takeda's growing influence. Determined to fight back, Samantha suggests expanding Miyagi-Do's presence and enlisting outside help. This leads them to Mr. Han. Though hesitant at first, agrees to join their efforts. He brings a unique perspective to Miyagi-Do, blending his kung fu expertise with the traditional karate teachings of Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Han's approach emphasizes balance and emotional healing, which resonates deeply with many of the younger students who've struggled to fully grasp the philosophical side of Miyagi-Do. With the help of Kumiko, Daniel and Johnny hatch a plan to infiltrate Takeda's grand tournament, where Jun is set to compete in a final match that could cement his place as Takeda's ultimate weapon. discipline. To gain entry, Johnny enters as a fighter, while Daniel works behind the scenes to expose Takeda's corruption. The tournament itself is a spectacle of brutality, far removed from the disciplined karate Daniel was taught. Fighters use every dirty trick in the book, and the crowd revels in the chaos. As the tournament progresses, Johnny faces off against some of Takeda's best fighters, enduring grueling matches. Meanwhile, Daniel finally confronts Jun, not with violence, but with the truth. He shows Jun the letter from Miyagi, revealing the sacrifices made to protect him. Jun is shaken but remains conflicted, torn between the family he never knew and the loyalty he feels toward Takeda. The climactic moment comes when Johnny is pitted against Jun in the final match. It's a brutal, high-stakes fight that tests both men's limits. Despite his best efforts, Johnny is overpowered. As Jun stands poised to deliver the finishing blow, Daniel steps into the ring, breaking the rules and putting himself in harm's way. He pleads with Jun to remember Miyagi's teachings, emphasizing that karate is for defense, not domination. Moved by Daniel's words, Jun hesitates. Takeda, furious at losing control, storms into the ring and demands Jun finish the fight. Instead, Jun turns on Takeda, challenging him to face the consequences of his actions. The crowd erupts as Jun defeats Takeda, dismantling his empire and reclaiming his autonomy. In the US, the Miyagi-Do, with the addition of Han, infiltrate Takeda's dojo in LA. They don't engage in violence. Instead, they observe and eventually begin speaking directly to the students. Mr. Han recounts personal stories of overcoming pain and loss, while Samantha and Miguel share how Miyagi-Do's teachings have transformed their lives. Their words resonate with several of the trainees, who start questioning the exploitative conditions they've endured under Takeda's leadership. As the Miyagi-Do team continues to build trust, tension with Takeda's men escalates. The instructors attempt to silence the dissent, but Mr. Han's calm yet firm demeanor prevents the situation from spiraling out of control. He demonstrates his skills in a non-violent but highly effective manner, showing the trainees that power doesn't have to come at the expense of integrity or compassion. Eventually, the students at Takeda's dojo begin to see the truth. Inspired by the principles of Miyagi-Do, they turn on Takeda's men, refusing to be controlled any longer. The shift in power is both physical and symbolic, as the students reclaim their agency and reject Takeda's toxic influence. This victory strengthens the Miyagi-Do community, proving that their values can prevail even against Takeda's corrupt empire. It also sets the stage for a larger confrontation with Takeda himself, as the balance between fear and hope shifts ever so slightly in favor of the Miyagi-Do philosophy. With Mr. Han now an integral part of their family, the dojo stands stronger than ever, ready for the challenges ahead. With Takeda defeated, Jun seeks redemption, choosing to learn the true meaning of Miyagi-Do karate under Daniel's guidance. The LaRusso and Lawrence families return to the US, where they strengthen the bonds within their dojo. Jun becomes a bridge between the old and new generations, embodying both the pain of the past and the hope for the future. As the film ends, Daniel reflects on Miyagi's legacy, realizing that the fight to uphold his mentor's values will never truly end. A final scene shows Jun meditating at the Miyagi-Do dojo, his future uncertain but full of potential. The words "legends fall" are revisited, not as a threat, but as a reminder that even the greatest legacies must evolve to survive. What do you think? Does this theory honor the spirit of the Karate Kid while exploring bold new directions? Or is there another twist waiting in the wings for Karate Kid Legends? Share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching Screen Rant.